Fun facts. My name is Prachi. If you look at the highest grossing films every year for the last 20 years, all of them either are or have sequels. And this is my March favorites, hates, and empties. Hi, hello, it's Editing Prachi. I am acutely aware of the fact that we are almost 3 weeks into April and I'm uploading my March faves, hates, and empties. I had originally filmed this footage over 10 days ago, and the plan was to release it right after my March check-in went up, like 1 or 2 days later. It was intended to be like a bonus video, and then I was supposed to upload something else this week. But then I remembered that I have 2 final exams on Monday and Tuesday, and that I should be spending all of my time and energy actually getting ready for that, instead of trying to film another video and then edit 2 videos. My last final exam is Tuesday, April 23rd. I get done at 9 p.m. and then I'm free, and I have a whole bunch of videos queued up and planned. Like, I made up a content calendar, there's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, but till then, like, I gotta buckle down, I gotta study. As you can see, I am living a textbook life right now. So if I'm a little bit MIA and I'm not responding to comments, etc., just know it's because I have finals back to back for 2 days and I am dying under the stress. But to quote my friend Chris, it be like that sometimes. I will see y'all on the other side though. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. To expand a little bit on the fun fact, the last movie that was the highest grossing movie of its year that doesn't have any sequels was Armageddon in 1998. I'm filming literally as the sun is setting, which means that the lighting is probably going to change as time goes on. Apologies for the potential variation in aesthetics. As y'all have gathered from my past couple of videos, March was a month for me. And so I figured I probably actually wouldn't have enough content for hits, misses, and goodbye kisses, because I figured what possible favorites could I have garnered in the month of March? But then when I sat down and I actually thought about it for a second, there were a surprising amount of things that I really appreciated in the month of March, and I actually managed to empty a couple things as well. So without any further ado, let's get it. Alrighty, so let's do empties first, since I only actually have 2. The first one is this Neutrogena Ultra Gentle Daily Cleanser in Creamy. This is one of those cleansers that doesn't foam up. I think the most popular influencer version of it is the Glossier Milky Jelly. I've never used that, but from what I can gather, this is basically that minus the rose fragrance. I tend to use this as my morning cleanser, especially in the winter. The things that cause your body washes and face washes to foam tend to be sort of really harsh surfactants, and I feel like my skin just doesn't need that in the morning. In the evening, to remove residue from my oil cleanser and my makeup and everything, for sure, I need a foaming cleanser. But in the morning, I prefer using something gentle like this, because this has surfactants that are strong enough to remove any excess residue from all of my nighttime skincare routine, but it's also mild enough that it won't strip my skin, make it feel dry or tight right in the morning. I've also used one by CeraVe that's a non-foaming cleanser, and it was really good, but I found that this performs in pretty much exactly the same fashion while costing a lot less than CeraVe. Now, this is the last non-foaming cleanser that I have in the house, and initially when I'd sort of laid out my no-buy rules, I had put foaming cleansers, oil cleansers, and non-foaming cleansers as 3 separate categories that I was allowed to replenish. So technically, because this was the last non-foaming cleanser, that category is empty, and I'm allowed to buy something to replace it. However, I've just sort of resisted buying a non-foaming cleanser and tried to make do with my foaming cleansers. And is it the best thing in the world? No. Do I feel like my skin is a little drier in the mornings than it should be? Yeah, but I'm also acknowledging that we're transitioning into spring and summer. Once the weather starts warming up, my skin actually does become a little oilier. And in the summer, I do like using foaming cleansers both in the morning and at night. So I figured instead of buying something to replace this, I should just kind of stick it out for a little bit with my foaming cleansers in the morning. I think I don't need it right now. I want to be strict with myself. So I'm gonna leave this category just empty without a replacement for this moment in time. Now, my no-buy is gonna last till February 2019, so that might change come like November or December when winter arrives and my skin starts drying out. But for now, I'm just going to leave the category empty and continue to try and use up all of the myriad foaming cleansers lying around the house. The next thing I ran through in the month of March was my dry shampoo. This is by Batiste. It's the Big and Bouncy XXL volume. It has a really strong sweet scent that I'm not a big fan of. Like, it's sugary, syrupy sweet. Batiste dry shampoos are the standard to which I hold up a lot of other dry shampoos, because unlike most other dry shampoos, I find these ones actually work. Not just this specific one, like Big and Bouncy XXL volume, but like pretty much every single Batiste dry shampoo I've ever used. I've used the original, this one, and one of those like tropical coconutty scent ones, and all of them are really effective dry shampoos for my hair. And March was like depression month for me, as y'all know, and when I'm depressed, I tend to not shower a lot. So I burned through a lot of dry shampoo in the month of March. That's kind of why this went empty. Dry shampoo is like one of those categories that I don't really like hoard. So when it ran out, and I was still in the month of March, and I was still mad depressed and needing to use dry shampoo because I wasn't taking care of my hygiene properly, I went out to go replace it. And I did this like really dumb thing, which is instead of buying the thing that I know I like and that I know is trustworthy, I decided to try out something new because I was kind of like bored. And because this seemed really innovative. So this is the OGX Green Tea Fitness Dry Shampoo Foam. Now these like foaming dry shampoos, which come out as like a mousse and then you rub them through your hair, they got a lot of like hype or whatever on YouTube and Instagram because I think like Way has one of them that's like really expensive that apparently works. And also this was $14.99 and this was on sale for $10.99. So I was like, oh, I'll get this, and it's cheaper than the Batiste that I usually use, and it's like this innovative new formula that I've always wanted to try. Like, let's get it, let's go. This ain't it, chief. This doesn't work. I have read the instructions a million times. They say to put like a little dime size amount on your hand and then pull it through your roots. I have not just put dime. I have used dime, nickel, quarter, loony, toony, like every possible currency amount that you could put into your hand, I have put into my hand and then tried to rub through my hair in order to get this to do its job. And it doesn't. I mean, I gotta say, kudos to them that when I put it in my hair, it doesn't make my hair worse, because if you were to take any other kind of mousse and put it into dry hair, your hair would be like a sticky, horrifying mess. So good job on like not making my hair actually worse. Bad job on being a dry shampoo. And unfortunately, because of the rules of my no-buy, I cannot replace it until I use this all the way up. So I'm just like suffering through it. If any of you have this product and you use it and it works for you, please, for the love of God, tell me. Like, tell me what magic it is you are doing, because I need this to work. Like, I need this to work. It's the only dry shampoo I have. I have to get this to work somehow. So help a girl out if you know a way to make this effective. Moving on. So when it comes to favorite beauty products, I don't really have all that many. And that's to be expected, considering that for most of the month of March, I didn't actually wear a lot of makeup. However, I did want to take this opportunity to shout out 2 products that have been like workhorse products for me for a really long time, and I've never just given them their space and their due. So the first one is this Stila Convertible Lip and Cheek Color in the shade Camellia. It's basically a cream blush that can also double as a lip product, but I've never used it for that. I only tend to put it on my actual cheek. It's what I'm wearing on my cheeks and eyes today, and it was also what I was wearing in my Depression is a Liar, Get Ready With Me. As you can see, this product has substantial pan. This is pretty much the only color cosmetic that I've ever actually hit pan on. That's how much I love it. I love the effect that it gives. I love how natural it looks. I love how it's both pink and brown, so it works with both cooler and warmer tone looks. In March, the few days where I did get myself together enough to wear makeup, this was often the blush that I would use. It's one of those things that it looks like I'm naturally flushed in this color. I would put it on even on days where I didn't have foundation because I didn't want my face to look sallow. And that's sort of the beauty of this product, that it works well over almost anything. Like over the fullest coverage foundation, over a sheer foundation, over nothing at all and just my skincare. Miss Camellia, she's a champ. The second beauty product isn't like a makeup item, it's actually this top coat by Seche Vite. My nails are almost always painted. I mentioned in my fun facts video that I keep my nails really short. That's true, but I also keep them painted at almost all times. And that's because nail polish was actually like my first beauty love. I used to have a lot of like, this is a story for another time, but I used to have a lot of internalized misogyny around femininity when I was a teenager. And one of the first like girly or feminine things that I let myself get into as I started to unlearn that internalized misogyny was nail polish. Like before I got into any makeup or skincare or hair care or anything, I started experimenting with nail polish. So I genuinely really love having my nails painted. And because life is really hectic, I'm often painting my nails like really late at night. And those of you who paint your nails and have done so like relatively late at night, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You like put on your nail polish, you put on your top coat, you like wait 20 minutes or whatever, you press down and you're like, yeah, this looks good. Like this feels like it's dried. I can go to sleep now. And then what happens? You wake up the next morning and you like slept on your nails. And so there's like weird scratches and press marks and bubbles and all sorts of crazy things. I've been painting my nails since I was about 16 or 17 years old. So that's like 8 or 9 years now. And this top coat is the only one I've personally ever used where I can paint my nails at like 11:45 at night, put on this top coat at 11:45 at night, go to sleep at midnight, and wake up the next day and I'm fine. There's not a single press mark, there's not a single scratch, there's nothing. Like when they call this Seche Vite, which literally means quick dry in French, they were not joking. This is like a secret lifesaver. Because my least favorite thing in the world is like having my hands be incapacitated because I'm waiting for nail polish to dry. So I just wanted to shout this guy out because I realized I've gone through, this is my 3rd bottle of it. I've been using it faithfully for years and years and years, and I've never really like given it the love and attention that it deserves. Now, non-beauty faves. I have 2 actual physical items. They're both really cool and I love them a lot, but I also wanted to put them in my favorites because they were both gifts. And I'm gonna show them both because even though I personally didn't buy them, they are such incredible reflections of my personality and they show how I have people in my life who understand me so well. And I'm really grateful for that. And so I'm appreciating and putting into my favorites the actual materiality of these things, but I'm also putting into my favorites the concept of thoughtful gift giving. So the first one is this mug. I'm currently working on a research project in public health that's trying to use social norms to reduce anemia in India. And I'm not getting paid for it or anything, but I took it on mainly because it's like an incredible learning opportunity. And so one of the PhD students who I work with, who's on the same team as me, she and I are both from Nepal. And as a token of appreciation, because we're both leading sort of the communications leg of the project, she gave me this mug. And it's from an Instagram artist called the Indian Feminist. And the word Rani, R-A-N-I, has double meaning. Firstly, because our project, the acronym for it, is called Rani. So our project is called the Rani Project. But also Rani means queen in both Nepali and in Hindi. And my teammate, she noticed that, you know, I love wearing bold lip colors and lipstick. And so she got me this mug because she was like, it's the perfect encapsulation of sort of who you are. I think you'd really enjoy it. So I really, really love this mug. And I've checked out the Indian Feminist on Instagram and she's like super cool. I'll link it down below. I'll link like her site or whatever. So shout out to that. The second present that I received is from one of my coworkers and friends. Her name is Catherine. She's like the goat. I love her. I live in Canada. It's so cold. And I used to have this one knit red beanie that I stole from my mom. And then when I moved, I must have lost it somehow. Like I cannot find it. I looked in all of the usual places. I checked out all of the usual suspects. Like it's not there. Now I'm planning on doing like the KonMari method because I'm going to have to move this summer to an apartment. So maybe I'll like luck out and find it in the move, but for now it's lost. So I've been like good-naturedly complaining about my lack of a beanie for a really long time to Catherine. And so she, as part of my birthday present, she actually ordered this beanie for me. It's like black, it's super cute, it's very nondescript except for this like tiny little figure at the bottom. So he's like this little alpaca with blushy cheeks called RJ, and he's part of like a series of cartoon characters that belong to the Korean company Line. And Line is basically an app like WhatsApp or Kakao Talk or whatever, and so he's one of the like available emojis and characters, and I love him because he looks like a cloud and his cheeks are blushy, and y'all know I'm a sucker for blush. And she was so apologetic because, you know, she ordered it in January around my birthday and then it didn't arrive until the month of March. And so she was like, you went the whole winter without a beanie, I'm so sorry. But I was so touched by the fact that she remembered that I like really wanted and needed a beanie and that I really liked this particular character. And anyway, we live in Canada, so it was snowing towards the end of March. I got a lot of great use out of it. RJ the alpaca on this beanie saw his first snowfall, and I'm just really grateful for it. Now, when it comes to like non-tangible item faves, I have a whole bunch of stuff, so strap in. Now, y'all already know, the album Mono by RM has to be in any music section of my March favorites. I talked about it at length during my March check-in. It's gotta go on here. I'm not gonna blabber about it at length over here because I already went over a bunch of it in my March check-in. However, in my March check-in, I focused on those last 3 songs, but I'm here to say that although lyrically those last 3 songs like hit me in the chest and made me have a whole bunch of epiphanies, musically they are not actually my favorite tracks. My absolute favorite track, my most played track from the album Mono, and it's actually the second most played track on my phone, is this very short interlude called Badbye. It was done in collaboration with this artist whose name I'm about to super mess up. I think it's like Eon or Aeon, and it has like this very dark electronic vibe. It's one of those tracks that's like so short, and I get mad at the fact that it's super short because I want more of it, right? I'm like, why was this not like a full 3.5 minute like space fantasy opus? And then coming in a really close second for my favorite track on that album is the very first track called Tokyo. That track is actually entirely in English. There's this beautiful instrumental melody that shows up a couple of times throughout the track that I just love so much. And my third favorite track is the sister track of Tokyo, Seoul, which takes that same sort of chord progression or melody and twists it just slightly to make it more of a positive vibe. And in it, RM kind of talks about the complicated relationship that he has with the city of Seoul, which is his home city. And I love the juxtaposition between Tokyo and Seoul because Tokyo is not his native city, it's not his home, and he does that song entirely in English, which is not his native language. And the instrumental melody is kind of, I think, in more of a minor key, and then he switches over to Seoul and he does that song almost entirely in Korean, which is his native language. He's talking about his home city and the way in which he both loves and hates it at the same time. And he's switched that melody from the sort of minor key, more melancholic version to this sort of more positive, possibly major key version. And I'm like, the years I spent playing music, like, I see what you did there. I appreciate the artistry, love those 2 songs together. Moving forward, one song that's like kind of an old favorite, and I listened to it a lot during the month of March, is the song called Run by a woman called Lee Jin Ah, featuring the artist Grey. This song does not have anything like melancholic about it. The female artist, Lee Jin Ah's voice is so incredible. Like, it feels unmoored and untethered. Like, it feels like it's just floating above the earth. There's something so ethereal and incredible about it. The entire song feels sort of like unstable, which makes sense because it's called Run. There's a sense of just constant motion about the song. And just like, I love her voice. I love how it just floats above everything. Like, it's like barely even there. I love the music video for it. Oh, and there's like this incredible keyboard riff, and it's not like some random other person. No, it's Lee Jin Ah, the actual female singer who is playing the keyboard. And I'm like, you're such a badass lady. Like, every time I watch the music video or even listen to that song, I like look at Lee Jin Ah and I'm like, you are a BAMF. Because I'm like, there are so few female producers and like badass composers and instrumentalists, and like, she's just out here like being incredible, sounding incredible, making just like stunning and interesting, beautiful music. So Run by Lee Jin Ah, I would highly recommend everyone just check it out. Moving away from music, the final March favorite that I want to shout out is Captain Marvel, the movie. I'm very, very lucky to have the friends that I have because one of them kind of like dragged me out to go see Captain Marvel. I'm gonna bring up Wonder Woman here. I thought Wonder Woman was a really good movie. Fell apart in like the last 30 minutes, not gonna lie. But I thought it was overall like a really good movie. Despite that, the themes of the movie like didn't really resonate with me that much, like they just kind of didn't. Captain Marvel, on the other hand, like as a character, as a whole, like resonated so incredibly strongly with me. And that's actually one of the reasons why I want to make it so clear that I don't want to pit Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman against each other, because there's a TED Talk by the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and in it she talks about the danger of a single story. When there is only one form of representation, when there is only one story or one narrative about a particular group of people, that's dangerous. And when Wonder Woman came out, it was the single story. It was the only story. And every single woman was supposed to find herself in Wonder Woman, the movie. And the reason why Captain Marvel has me so excited, we're moving away from a single story, because now there's two. And because Captain Marvel was fundamentally and functionally so very different from Wonder Woman. So we are beginning, really, hopefully, to now live in a world where there is not just a single story about female superheroes, where we will now start having more and more movies come out with female superheroes who have really different personalities and really different aesthetics, so that people from all different walks of life can sort of relate to them. Because I think a lot about like male superheroes and how there are so many, and they are all so different. Some people like Tony Stark and Iron Man, some people like Steve Rogers and Captain America, some people like Thor. So that's like big meta reason why Captain Marvel is like a strong favorite, but also, like I said, like I really resonated with that movie. When the movie initially started out, I was a little bit like, who is she? Right? Like, she seemed very boring, and she seemed to like not have a personality, and she seemed almost like wooden. And I was like, what's going on? Like, Brie Larson is an Academy Award-winning actress. Like, she should be able to emote really, really well. And then there's like a point in the movie where a couple of things happen, and there's just this huge emotional outburst, and suddenly her character is yelling. And you're kind of like caught off guard because you're like, what? Like, where was all of this like emotionality and sass and personality like earlier in the movie? Why did it take so long for it to kick in? And I realized that was like, I think, a very deliberate choice, because at the start of the movie, she's a woman who doesn't have any memories. So she doesn't know who she is. Like, think of all of the memories in your life and how they have informed your personality. Like, my sense of humor, my wryness, all of that comes from my memories. And she doesn't really have very many of them. Moreover, she lives in a society where she's constantly told that emotions are bad, and she's like supposed to keep all of her emotions tamped down and under control. So of course she's kind of like a wooden, stoic character, because that was her training for the last 3 years for which she even has a memory. She's been told by literally every single person, don't get emotional, stay calm, stay cool, be logical, be rational, don't let things affect you. And at the moment at which she begins to sort of figure out who she is, and she has this huge emotional outburst, it's because she's unlearning all of that crappy messaging from the start of the movie. And just that narrative arc of like having been told that you're too emotional and that you need to tamp it down and that you need to be more level-headed and cooler and logical and rational. Like, I don't know about any of you, but like I personally have experienced that my entire life. Being constantly told since I was a teenager that girls are too emotional, it's bad to be emotional, that I'm too emotional, I'm too hot-tempered, that I shouldn't speak with passion, that I should keep anger out of my voice. This sense that if I'm ever arguing and I'm angry and upset, that's like a bad thing, that emotionality is like not valid, that you should always tamp it down. Like, that's messaging I've heard my whole life. And so to see it in that context, I was just like, oh, that's incredible. Moreover, there's this point in the movie where she says, I've been fighting with one hand tied behind my back. What happens when I'm finally set free? When she said that line, I suddenly remembered when I first got diagnosed with ADHD. And in the process of receiving the diagnosis, I had like rehashed my entire life basically, and all of the very bad depressive phases and everything. And so I was really emotional and I was crying because I was like, I didn't think I was ever going to go anywhere. Like, I thought like all of my dreams were dead and I was never going to be able to achieve anything. And I felt like, you know, I was still stumbling around at the starting line of a race while everybody else had like run so far ahead of me. And I'll never forget what she said. Okay, let's take your metaphor that life is a race. You didn't know you had ADHD this entire time. It was sitting there untreated, just wreaking havoc in your life. And that's the equivalent of you trying to run a race with a broken leg. And even with that broken leg, you've still made it this far. You haven't quit on going to university. You keep coming back. You scrape yourself together to get your grades. You've done all of that and come all this far, even with your severely broken leg. And now we know that your leg is broken. Now we're gonna start fixing it. Just think how fast and far you'll run. I had kind of forgotten that I'd had this conversation because I'd been so mired in the fact that depression had returned and that I wasn't doing well in school, that I had dropped the ball in a bunch of different aspects of my life. And when I went to go see Captain Marvel and that line came on, I've been fighting with one hand tied behind my back. What's gonna happen when I'm finally set free? I felt that in like every cell of my body because I suddenly remembered this conversation. I remember just like viscerally being like, oh. So yeah, I really liked that movie. I thought it was really good. I'm excited to see where Captain Marvel's character goes in the upcoming Marvel movies, and I'm just excited in general for more female superheroes. Moving forward, March as a whole was just kind of like a miss for me. I felt like the whole world went like a little bit insane during the month of March, and it's like way too much to address all in one video, but my big miss for the month of March are rich people. Rich people behavior during the month of March was so egregious. Like, it was so horrifyingly bad that I really was in the mood to kind of like call up the ghost of Maximilien Robespierre to reinstate the guillotine. Like, I'm gonna say what I need to say about rich people in the context of two things that happened in the month of March. The first was the college admission scandal. Yeah, remember when that happened? The news cycle is so crazy nowadays, it feels like things that happened like 2 weeks ago happened 4 years ago. Now, a billion different people have done a billion different videos on that like college admission scandal where really rich people were paying for their kids to like fraudulently get into school. What I specifically want to talk about is rich people mediocrity. And here's what I mean by that. If you are a rich person, you are incredibly privileged. Let's look purely just in terms of college admissions, both from high school into undergrad or from undergrad into grad school, law school, med school, etc. If you're a really rich person, you probably live in a neighborhood with really, really good schools. Or you went to an elite private school, which should have prepared you on how to get into college. Additionally, because you're rich, you probably didn't need to have a job during high school and you didn't need to have a job during your undergrad. You were able to spend all of your time not worrying about the economics of the world and instead just focusing on your studies and your extracurriculars. Moreover, if there are any preparatory tests like the SAT, the ACT, the LSAT, the MCAT, the GRE, etc., you're rich. You can afford the absolute best test prep materials. Those like $1,000 books, those $1,500 courses, one-on-one private tutoring. You have the money to have it all. And you're telling me that despite all of that privilege, all of that time, all of that energy, all of the million ways in which you are already set up to succeed, you are so mediocre of a student that you couldn't get into USC? Every single one of these students who had to have their parents bribe, scam, and lie their way into university admissions is such a thoroughly and mind-numbingly mediocre person that on the one hand, I'm like laughing, and on the other hand, I'm about to boil over with rage. Because functionally, it means that rich people are allowed to be ridiculously mediocre. They'll still be fine because they have so many resources that will ensure that they absolutely cannot fail, no matter how mediocre they are. People talk a lot about like what is the privilege that comes with class. Like, that's what privilege is. The fact that you can be like mind-numbingly mediocre or even bad and you're still never gonna fail because you have a bunch of resources. People who aren't rich, they don't have the room to be mediocre. We have to be exceptional. We have to be twice as good to get half as much. So, big miss to all of those like rich parents who paved their way for their children to bribe and scam their way into schools despite them just being like garbage students. The second way in which rich people are a miss for me, beyond just their like mind-numbing mediocrity, is there was a particular scandal that broke in Korea. It's called the Burning Sun scandal. I'm gonna try and leave some like articles or videos about it further down. But essentially what happened is that it came out that a whole bunch of incredibly rich and influential musicians, celebrities, TV show presenters in Korea, these male presenters, were part of like a prostitution ring, essentially, where they were like drugging women so that they could sleep with them, filming them without their consent while they were sleeping with them, just behaving in really terrible and horrifying ways. And this was all happening in this one particular nightclub called the Burning Sun. Now, the person who runs that nightclub, his name is Seungri, and he's part of a group of musicians who I actually really used to listen to when I was a teenager. He's dead to me now. Men being crappy to women is whatever. old news. What was mind-boggling was the fact they did things that are tantamount to assault, things that they should be going to jail for. And they got away with all of it because they're rich and famous. Their wealth and their fame insulated them from facing consequences because they had enough money to be able to like pay off police officers, government officials, inspectors, like all of this kind of stuff to allow them to continue engaging in horrifyingly illegal and gross behavior towards women. And I guess that's that's the reason why I just kind of want to like say rich people as a whole are amiss for me, because it functionally bothers me so much that the rules of society are different for people who have a lot of wealth and resources. If you are a terrible person, if you're misogynistic, if you assault somebody, or towards the less severe end of the spectrum, if you pulled mediocre grades in school because you never paid attention, didn't ever do your homework, or like goofed off with your friends instead of going to like study for the SAT, those actions and choices all have consequences. And being rich means, and that behavior is just a miss for me. But I suppose the flip side of that is that at least some of these people are now facing the music, because the Burning Sun scandal in Korea has been exposed, the college admission scandal has been exposed, legal action is being taken against a whole bunch of people, and that's good. They should have been facing consequences for their bad behavior. And my hope is that moving forwards, they're not able to use money to somehow then buy their way back into the good graces of society. All right. That was super serious. Feel like that was a very long video. Feel like I've been filming for a very long time at the very least. But then I always have a lot to talk about. And also, I personally don't mind long videos. Like, I will totally watch like a 30 to 40 minute video. Part of that is because I almost never watch a video at the original speed at which it was created. Like, I'm always watching a video like at twice the speed. I think that's everything from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you also enjoyed this look. I figured I would give my really dark, vampy lipsticks one last hurrah for this video. I prefer more sheer, kind of blotted almost formulas in the spring as opposed to the intensity of a liquid lip. Sephora actually has these like watercolor lip stains in like 8 different colors. They're my dream spring look because I want to do like ombre, blotted, watercolor style lips. The wild thing is I actually remember buying one of them last year, like a red one, but I can't find it like anywhere in my makeup collection. And it's not in my skincare drawer, like it's nowhere where I would usually have like put makeup. So I feel like I must have returned it and I just don't remember. And I'm kind of kicking myself for that decision now if I did that. Anyway, like spring looks is a conversation for another time. As always, I hope you have a great upcoming week. And even if your upcoming week ends up becoming messy and imperfect, I hope that you're still able to create and experience some truly beautiful moments. Bye!
But you gotta be there for me too.